Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome. All right, Savannah is coming in pretty soon. So today is actually a very interesting live. I'm gonna. The topic's mental health, which is about my the main topic of my book. It's actually about mental health, and today I want to invite somebody that deals with mental health and have very similar approach that I have, and have a very interesting and inspiring story. So I would like to invite Savannah from Exceptional Heroes to come and talk to us.
Hi,
Hello, how are you?
good. How are you?
Very, very good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So, Savannah, with your Exceptional Heroes project, we're going to talk a little bit about mental health today, which is the topic of my book. I think we can relate a lot in a few things, even though our our stories are very different in a way, but they're similar at the same time. My story comes from a lot of existential issues, let's put it this way, or challenges. And yours, I will let you start with that. So I would like you to introduce you a little bit about yourself and your story.
Yeah, so my name is Savannah Paula Fox, and I am the creator of Exceptional Heroes, these guys right here. And my story begins when I was 7 years old. I was diagnosed with an auditory processing disorder. So through my whole life, I have had to deal with certain obstacles. I later then developed chronic migraines and a seizure disorder. And a lot of people don't take, when I say I have chronic migraines as a disability, a lot of people don't take that very seriously because they just think it's a type of headache when it's very debilitating, especially when you add a seizure disorder on top of it. And then I later was diagnosed with PTSD and some of the side effects with that, which is anxiety and depression. And that was due to my junior year in college. I was sexually assaulted, but I didn't let any of that stop me. I have always, even before my attack, have trained animals and took them to facilities for animal assisted therapy. So we visited um, elderly homes, schools, camps, group homes with various disabilities, learning disabilities that I've developmental, all sorts. And yeah, my story has some struggles, but I always wanted to help people, and through that is when I created Exceptional Heroes, the therapeutic device.
Well, I think it's amazing that you didn't let that stop you, and you still want to help others through that. It's very, very inspiring. So, can you tell me more about your project, your Exceptional Heroes project?
Yes. So when I came home after my assault, I started going to therapy. And through therapy, I had all these tools that were great for helping me and my disabilities and just to stay grounded with my PTSD. But it was so much, and I would have to keep a safety backpack with me, which had all this stuff. And so when I would go into a certain episode, my mom would have to be like taking all these different components out just to help me. And it made me think, because of my previous of volunteering and being an intern, part of a research group at my college, I noticed that a lot of other kids and others who had disabilities had to carry a lot of stuff too, a lot more than I did. So I created a therapeutic product which is these guys.
Okay, can you show it to us one?
Yeah. So this is Shelby, and they're based off the real animals that I train and have at home. So both of them are equally distributed in weight for pressure therapy. Shelby is 8 pounds and Monroe is 4 pounds. And they have a lot more components than that because during my healing journey and learning all the tools I needed, controlled breathing was a big part of it, which was breathe in 4 and breathe out 8. And so inside the head is a hidden zipper and has a sound box in it that we composed the bells to help you breathe in and out. And all of this is backed by science. We then have a collar, 100% wool collar that you can use for aromatherapy if you would like. We also, because I'm a self-picker, because when I'm stressed or anything like that, I need something to fidget with so that I'm not doing self-harm. And we put Velcro on the paws, on the 2 front paws of each animal. And if you don't want the Velcro, you don't have to. You can just put this glove that we have over it, and it's just me. Yeah. And then we have in the back paws, both back paws is stress balls. So it helps with any tension that you might be feeling, stress. And all this was developed in the early stages of my healing journey back in 2019.
Well, that's so. I mean, I'm shocked right now because, like, the first thing I remember with me was about 7 years old, and one thing I learned in yoga was actually to breathe, and that's what actually helped me a lot of times during my Ironmans when I was stressed and all of that. It was the breathing. So I'm just like totally shocked because we found, I mean, we started pretty much the same age, but we found a solution. Like, I don't have a disability, but in a way, I can relate because I was always different in a way. Like, I was ultra sensitive to certain things. So it's just like interesting because it starts pretty much at the same age, and we ended up using one solution, which is the breathing. That's amazing. So anybody can get this device. How does it work?
So on Saturday, July 24th, our new website will be going live, and you can submit an email on there so that you can get notification when we start our Kickstarter, because these aren't not on the market yet. We're trying to raise funds for the manufacturing part. So by going to our website on July 24th, you can submit your email and you can be notified when the Kickstarter, which is our pre-sales, and those will be delivered the first quarter of 2022.
Awesome. Like, this is awesome. Like, I didn't know that part of the project. So that's amazing.
Thank you. We've had so many people test them out. They're not only for people who have disabilities, it can also be for those who just want to maintain their mental health.
Oh, I'm thinking about getting one. So as soon as the website is up, I'm going to go over there and definitely get one. So the name, Exceptional Heroes, where does it come from, and how did you came up with that?
Yeah, so Exceptional Heroes came from, when I was young, I remember when I was diagnosed with auditory processing, a lot of the times I would come home crying, and I would say to my mom, I wish I would be like other kids. And for those of you who do not know what auditory processing is, it's where it's a learning disability that you can't process things. So like when you hear it, it might not process the same in your brain. And so it makes it really difficult to follow certain rules because just by having someone writing with a pen or clicking a pen can interrupt our hearing and listening to someone else. So we interpret it differently, which made school really hard. But I remember going home with my mom crying, saying, I want to be like the other kids. And she goes, why would you want to be with the other kids? Being normal is, I'm not normal, your dad's not normal, we're exceptional. And being normal is boring. And so that always stuck to me. And so, when I started doing, when I started training my Rabbit Monroe, my real Rabbit Monroe, and taking him to other places, I felt like all the people that I went to, they were exceptional as well. And the animals I worked with were exceptional because not a lot of rabbits could deal with what Monroe dealt with. And so that just really stuck with me. I always thought that exceptional was a positive word that a lot of people looked over because everyone thinks of extraordinary, but no one thinks of exceptional. And so that's how Exceptional Heroes, the name came about. Just when I was told by an early age that I was exceptional, working with the people I did and how exceptional they were, and then working with the animals that I thought were exceptional, just came together. And I always thought that my animals were like my heroes because a lot of the times my family was always there for me, but like my rabbit was actually, Monroe was actually there, who saved my life when I was in my dorm room wanting to end my life. And so he saved me, and so he's my hero. And so that's kind of how it came about.
That is awesome. I have goosebumps here. I have a son with a disability, and I would like you to, even though you already explained a little bit, and I'm trying to follow the questionnaire here because I think one thing you did amazing when we talk on the phone, which is something we hopefully going to talk about next, but it's about boundaries. And you set your boundaries right away, which I think is amazing. It's one of the most important things for mental health, which we're going to talk a little bit. But I wanted to get a little bit from you what it was, how it was growing up, like after you found that you were different and after you made that switch of being exceptional, how was growing up with your disability? I want to learn from you because I think only people that went through this, they'll be able to explain for others what's the best way to approach and things like that. So I would like you to share a little bit of that part with us so we all can learn from you.
Yeah, so before I get into that question, I just want to say to everyone, setting boundaries with other people, especially ones that like I rarely talk to, like you, when I talked to you for the first time, was really difficult for me. And I would always have my mom advocate for me, which during my healing journey and going to a college that was primarily white people, it was very hard to set boundaries because I was always the shy one. So setting boundaries has been a work in progress. And so, yeah. But
can I tell you something? I still can do it until today.
Say that again?
I still can do it. I still can't. I have such a hard time of setting boundaries that, like I think it's amazing when people do it that I look at it like, I wish I could do that. Like when I talked to you on the phone, I was like, the first thing I heard, I was like, I wish I could do that. But I had such a hard time, which that's our next question. So you probably can develop a little bit more from there. But I think it's amazing. So, and I just want to tell you, I still have a lot of trouble with that. So you're not alone in that sense.
Thank you. But growing up with a disability, what was difficult, I have to say, especially when they're invisible disabilities, like the learning disability, chronic migraines, all that, it's very difficult because in some aspects, yes, you can hide it, but when it does show up, so like reading has always been a struggle for me because of my learning disability. Because when I was born, my hearing tubes weren't fully developed, so which made a hearing loss, which for the first few months of my life, I wasn't able to hear any of the sounds. So when I speak, I try to be very clear and learn how to talk. I mean, I've had a speech therapist and all of that, but certain words still sound weird. And so I would have kids make fun of me. Oh, you're not supposed to say it like that. Say it like this. And I would try, and I couldn't do it. And I would have kids make fun of me on how I read. And I always was ashamed of my disability, so I let no one know. And then and so through my whole school and college, I would get help from teachers, but it would always be in private. So it'd be after school, before school, and then of course I was one of those kids who would have to branch off from their classmates after lunch to go get extra help. And that was always difficult because kids would always, where do you go? I go, oh, just somewhere, and I'd make up a story like some kids do. And so that was extremely difficult. I mean, I had a tutor from kindergarten all the way until I was in college. I would have someone help me, which was my grandma. And then when in high school, when I was diagnosed with chronic migraines and a seizure, that was public. I was in a very small school, so everyone knew each other's business. I would have chronic migraine seizures there, where my mom would have to come and pick me up because I was just not able to function at school. And through that whole junior year, I honestly can't remember a majority of it because of how much drugs the doctors had me on, which was extremely difficult because, yes, my teachers were very understanding and let me pass my classes, but I wasn't able to go in there like all the other kids and actually work for it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And so growing up, I've always had these struggles. Yes, I try to hide some of them, but some of them weren't, which made it easier and not easy because other people would look at you differently and be like, come on, can't you just take a pill and that's it? And no, I have to do this, make sure that I'm not eating too much sugar. I mean, there's a lot, diet goes into it. There's exercise. There's just so much that has to go into having a disability that you have to look out for so that those triggers don't come about and that you can somewhat control it. I mean, you can't really control the migraines and stuff, but I do the best I can with diet, exercise. But growing up, it was difficult, and it took me a long time to learn to be okay with it, and that having a disability doesn't make you any less, doesn't make you any, yes, it makes you different from other people, but you can get modifications. Nowadays, it's very easy to get the modifications that you need for what you need.
Yeah, I think when it comes to disability, I think the easiest way to explain to people is like we all have a soul, so it doesn't, like it doesn't really matter anything else. It's a soul in that body, and going through their soul challenge or their soul contract. So I think when the approach is that, everything becomes easier, and that's what I try to teach my son. Now, I'm just curious, and this wasn't, I apologize, it wasn't on the... I have two questions that I'm curious. Like, if you wanted to explain to someone, actually three questions, sorry, to explain to someone the difference between headache and migraine, and what do you take today for your seizures? Mm-hmm. And do you think it was better when people knew that you had some disability or when they didn't know?
So for my migraines and my seizures, both of them, they are a continuous battle when taking certain things. So yes, I do Eastern medicine, which is what these guys are, natural, breathing, all that. But I also believe in Western medicine. And my neurologist, we just got started with new medication because the old medication wasn't working anymore. And so it's a constant battle on trying to find what helps me and my seizures and my chronic migraines, just to function, to eliminate some of them, because if I wasn't on any medication, I would have chronic migraines all the time. And that's how it was before I was diagnosed. I was having migraines and I wasn't able to sleep because the pain was so bad. So it's a continuous battle with migraines because with medication, because it depends on your body. So my body, I could be taking pills for a few months and my body is already used to it and I have to move on to a next type.
Oh, okay.
So it really depends. Your other question with headaches and chronic migraines. So headaches are something that come and go. They're not a constant thing. Yes, they're triggered by certain things, but chronic migraines is a condition, and it's something that can be triggered by light. So with my ring lights, I have to put them at a certain decimal so that I don't get chronic migraines. Chronic migraines, there's so much more to chronic migraines. I mean, most of the time it's females who are diagnosed with it, and a lot of times I have to be in a dark room just to not stimulate them too much.
So it's sensorial. You kind of need to.
Yeah. So chronic migraines is your whole brain hurting, and for me it feels like someone took my brain or my skull with my brain in it and shook it.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so they're super painful. And headaches are just like a come and go thing, kind of like when you're stressed, when you're tired, stuff like that. Where chronic migraines, in order to be diagnosed with chronic migraines, you have to have 15 migraines in a month, and I surpassed that. So that's how they first thought that I had like cancer or something, which wasn't the case when they started asking me questions, taking certain tests, all that.
Wow. And you still have it today? Like if the medication is on control, you still have it?
So the medication controls it. I am on a new medication because I have gone through all the ones that they start you off with, and now that none of them work, they have put me on one where I inject myself every month. So that's yeah. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
No, you're perfect. I think you answer, and I admire you because, like, everything I heard about migraines is just horrible. And somebody just said it too, like migraines are horrible, and on day 4 right now. So yeah, I cannot even imagine the pain and everything else. So now
controlled breathing helps me a lot too with them. So try controlled breathing, Bright Moon. It just helps with the air in your brain as well.
Meditation, I assume, probably something good.
Yeah.
All right. Now talking about it, what are the tools that you use for mental health besides your amazing device? What are the tools you use? You already kind of like talk a little bit about diet, and I think that's terrific because, like, for me, I'm a big fan of good diet. So, but just tell me a little bit more of what you do and how you do it, if you don't mind sharing it. The things that you work on it.
Yeah. So what I do for my mental health, other than using these guys, is I love bike riding. I use that a lot of the time. When it's not hot outside. But I use that because I can put on music. Music is another way I help with grounding and mental health. Me and my sister, when I first came home, she'd be like, "Do you want to do music therapy?" And yeah, so we'd blast the music as loud as we wanted, and we'd just lay there on the
Very
floor,
good.
rocking out. Yeah. Music, bike rides. I like to go out and train my animals, play with my animals, do all that fun stuff. Sometimes I take a lot of mental health days. So, like when I'm really struggling, I take mental health days. I do my best so that I have less of those, but of course, not every day is going to be perfect. So, those mental health days really help with grounding and just bring me back to the present. I do a lot of grounding so that I can stay in the present.
Yeah, I think grounding it's one of the like probably for me at least is the number one with exercise and music.
Yeah.
And speaking of music, what kind of music you listen to? I'm just curious now.
A lot of pop, some country, depending on my mood. But like when I just want to get out of my head, a lot of pop and some rap.
Very good, very good. I'm not super big in country, but I love rap, like more the old school rap.
Yeah.
I kind of have like a little bit of my side in there, and like you, I use a lot of music for my mental health, and heavy metal is usually my to-go type of
Yeah.
music. So,
That's my dad. He loves heavy metal.
oh really?
Yeah.
He has a good taste.
Yeah. Well, he's from the 80s.
Oh, okay. I'm from the 80s too, so
Okay.
that will make sense.
Yeah. Me and my sister like more of the early 2000s.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We're
All
young.
right, so mental. You think mental health and spirituality are in some way, type of form, connected, or
I think so, especially like when I do controlled breathing, I feel like it's a sense of connecting with your soul. Um, it definitely brings you like, especially when you do controlled breathing, when you're in a high state of mind of anxiety, stress. I feel like it brings you down and to connect with your soul because I feel like when you're having stress, anxiety, in my case PTSD, you're not connected with your soul and spirituality. So breathing, doing all your grounding techniques definitely brings you back. So I do think that they have a connection.
you know, it's interesting you said that because when we first talked the first time, you said just hang on, I'm an old soul, and I thought that was amazing because even though I always thought about it, I never said it. I was always like scared of saying it. But I think it was amazing because you said, like, just hang on, I'm old, so we got to go easy on this side of it, which is, it's amazing not only for the boundary part of it, but the fact that you had that connection with yourself. You always have that, like it was, or it's
So
something
yes,
that you
so I've
developed with time, or, you know.
yeah, so I've always been told that I've had an old soul because of my maturity. And then just the certain things that I've drawn an interest to. So, like, my favorite actress is Audrey Hepburn and those black and white movies. And so that's kind of where, like, looking, like, taking an overview of myself, I can agree that I have an old soul just because of my maturity, the things that I'm interested, and then the people I connect with. A lot of times, my friends,
They're older.
one of my friends is 70 something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I love her. She loves me, and we have great conversations.
Yeah, it's very interesting that old soul connection because I have like a lot of that, and it's just like it makes a huge difference when you realize that, and you know, like
Yeah, it
it's a
does.
great concept, and a lot of people don't talk about it. I think it's easier to connect when you're in that sense, and it's funny because my my story have a lot to do with sensibility. And one thing I found out when my son was born, that like I think people with disability, or I don't know if you how you like to put it, special needs or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever the label it is. I think uh, kids and people like that, they are ultra sensitive. It's like if I'm sensitive, that means like you are ultra sensitive on that sense. And same thing with my son. Like, would you agree with that, or based on your experience in life, would
So
you
I don't
think
feel
it's
like people, so I think a lot of people think people are sensitive, which I don't think that's the case because you don't know their background. So I think it's more of someone who got triggered, which I can certainly agree with. I feel like people with whatever they might be sensitive with or triggered with, I think that it comes from their past and something. Me and my therapist talked about this, that people aren't sensitive, they were triggered in some way. And and then when you were talking about the accessibility, I feel like a lot of times buildings don't think of the disabled community, whether it be a visual disability or a non-visual disability. They just don't think of, they only think of the typical person, which is a lot of times when people think that a disabled person is being sensitive because they're trying to stand up for their rights and what they need for accessibility, if that makes sense.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
think that something for the person to be sensitive about it, something needs to happen in order to that
I think they
sensibility
had a
come.
past experience that made them react a certain way to a certain issue.
Interesting, very interesting your perspective, and I really appreciate that. Uh, Now, like before I go into the last question, which I think it's a very deep question, but
Yeah.
is there something that you want to add with your story, like something that you would like people to know that I think, for example, that you think is essential, not only from the mental health perspective, but from the perspective of growing up with disability, invisible disability? What is something that you truly wish people would know and understand about it?
I think something that I would want people to know and understand is that yes, I had something horrible happen to me. Yes, I have the disability, but that is not what defines me. Excuse me, I had a hiccup. That defines me. There is so much more to me than just that. I mean, I'm a big geek when it comes to Marvel. And I love animals. I love learning. There's so much more than just my disabilities and uh, my the what happened to me at college.
Awesome.
And I think
Uh,
that has to go with every person with disability.
I totally agree with that. And, one thing I learned in this journey, like 5 years being Luke's dad, it's always assume competence. That's something that I learned uh, that by doing this, you empower more the person than anything else. So if you assume competence, that's something that I learned with time. But um, it's
Yeah,
interesting to listen to
I
your perspective.
yeah, I could definitely agree. A lot of times I hear people say that when they go in and need certain things, they tell the person, but then the um, teller or clerk talks to the person that they brought instead of to the individual. I've
Yeah,
never had that issue, and I think that's where I learned how to advocate for myself and set boundaries. Is because when I would even my pediatrician, my neurologist pediatrician, when we go to appointments, my mom would ask certain questions, and yes, I was quiet, but he always talked back to me. So he would answer them looking at me and not my mom, which I liked, even though I didn't talk very much, I liked that because he was talking to me as a person
That's a
and not to my mom.
That's a very good point. It's something that my wife and I we always talk in our when we go we look to the hospital and stuff because it's like he needs to know like we're like he's nonverbal, so we're making the questions, but like he needs to learn to know what it's been talked about and all of that stuff. So I think that's fantastic that you put it that way, and then you realize, and it's a proof that you know uh, uh, it makes a difference when the person talks to you.
Yes, it does.
So, like the final question, which it can be a lot of things. Don't just stay yourself in one specific answer. But what touches your soul?
Say that one more time.
What touches your soul? What is
What
something that?
touches?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what touches my soul is my family. We call them our village. They have been a huge part of just my whole journey since the beginning, and they truly touch my soul. They've stuck by me. I mean, I've had friends who left who didn't believe me when I came out that I was sexually assaulted. But my family always stood by me. My close families always stood by me, and they've always touched my soul because they were there. They were there, and they never left. My therapist would be another one because she said she will never leave me, and I find that it's very true. I called her up at 3 o'clock in the morning because I needed help, and she was there to answer. So family, therapist, I would say friends, but the friends that I have are considered family now, and then my animals.
So in a way, you would say like it's human connection.
Human connection and animal connection are my big ones.
That's amazing because I actually was talking to my wife right before this live about human connection, how there is a lot of, there's like 7 billion humans in the planet, and even that, like 90% of them feel alone. And I think that's a really key of mental health. It's not only, I think you said it right before on the live, that you need to connect with yourself and in order to connect with others. So I think if you're not connected, it's going to be hard to connect. And it's amazing your experience and how connected you are with yourself, how true and authentic you are with yourself, and you accept it. And from there, you were able to create a huge connection around you. And that's like, it gives me goosebumps to say it. And I think it's totally goosebump and a little bit of water in my eyes. Nothing major, but I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your perspective. And once again, what's the name of when the website's going to be ready?
The website will be ready July 24th.
July 24th. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a kickstart, right? And everybody can pledge something to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the website is going to be launched the 24th. You can subscribe with your email, and then you'll be notified when the Kickstarter and pre-launch starts, which is approximately 1 month, and then you get your delivery estimated the first quarter of 2022.
Excellent. I gotta be there. So if you can please send me the website when it's ready, because I want to announce on my Instagram as well. And I also be happy to try to be the first one to join your campaign. And I really appreciate your time for your talk. I learned a lot. I hope the people watching have learned something, and can follow Savannah on Exceptional Heroes on Instagram. And there is any other form of getting in touch with you?
You can DM me through at exceptional_heroes. I saw that there's a question that says, what's the website? The website is about these guys, and it'll be www.exceptionalheroes.com, but it won't be ready until July 24th. But yeah, you can definitely email me. My email's on my social media, or you can DM me. I'm always available.
That's very true, because when I when I came up to you and said that I wanted to do a live with you, and you answered right away, you were available. You were straightforward up front. I know it's hard because I had the same hard time doing that, but I appreciate it because it was a lot easier to have the approach and to touch so many sensitive subjects.
Yeah.
And I hope I didn't put you in any spot with the extra questions in there. But
no, you're good.
All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And everybody, please follow Savannah on Exceptional Heroes. And if you can, just go to her Kickstarter, and somebody just put it the website in there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You enjoy your day. Bye.
Yes, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.